welcome back to my channel, Books with Natasa. Today I'm filming a sort of a second part to one of the videos that I have previously filmed. I will put the link up here. And that is popular books on TikTok and my opinions on them. And this is Fantasy Edition. So I have quite a few books to talk to you about. Most of them are quite popular, and most of them are favorites of mine, but there are a few that have quite negative feelings towards. So let's just get straight into the video. Firstly, I want to talk about Sarah J. Maas. She's the author of the Chorus of the Roses series, Throne of Glass, and Carson City. From these three series, I haven't read the Throne of Glass series. I am currently in the middle of reading book 1, so I am not sure how I feel about it yet because I am quite struggling with it, but this time has been a little bit better. So I'm hoping I will be able to finally understand what the obsession with the series is, but I'm getting sidetracked. My opinion on Sarah Maas is incredible, basically. She writes incredible love stories, and that is part of my favorite thing about her. The Akuta series is one of my all-time favorite series. I love Farah, I love Reese, I love the Inner Circle. All of them, just they are amazing. I'm not gonna talk about the Akuta series a lot because I have talked about it a lot in this channel, so I don't want to become repetitive in this. But I've also read the Carson City books. I'm all caught up with that series, and I absolutely loved the first book. It was amazing. The second book I had quite a mixed feelings about it. It was quite slower, but at the end it totally redeemed it for me. I was screaming. I dropped it. I was crying. I mean, it was incredible. But about the Carson City, I don't feel super connected with the romance. I just I'm not feeling it as much with Bryce and Hunt. I kept waiting for in the second book for another love interest to appear, like it did with the Akatar books with Reese, but nothing happened. And I know for that in the Throne of Glass series that happens too, so I kept hoping for it. But I guess Hunt is taking the second love interest because we have one more that dies. So I have no idea how to even interpret all that, but still, if it wasn't for the romance, I would absolutely love the Carson City books still. But like I said, Charlie Maas is an incredible author. I love her so much, and I can't wait to read more of the books. Next, we have the From Blood and Ash series by l.armentrout. This series has been all over TikTok and Instagram and basically everywhere in the book community recently. And I think it's because book number 4 came out a few months ago, but it has been on my radar for ever since JLA first announced it that she was moving into new adult fantasy. But it took me a while to get into these books, especially the first one. I had a very difficulty starting it, and I have no idea why because JLA is my favorite author. But when I picked it up in May, I pushed through the first few chapters. But when Poppy was introduced a little more and the love interest was also introduced, I was hooked. I read all the books in the span of 2 weeks, I believe, because they're quite big. But I absolutely love them. A new favorite series of mine, Poppy and Steel, are incredible. I love them so much. And I can't wait for book number 5, wherever it comes. And I guess what I'm trying to say is I have a positive mindset for this series. It's incredible. I love it. All the books I have given 5 stars except the first one that I have given 4.75 out of 5 stars. Next, we have the Six of Crows duology. I mean, if you know that I have read this series and absolutely loved it. I have filmed a review in the beginning in this channel. I'll put the link up here. And I just love the gang in this book. Kazines, Nina, Matthias, Wyland, Jasper. They are incredible. Just talking about them makes me want to read it because it's been quite a long time since I read it. Watching the show, I kept screaming and like, oh my god, this is Inez, oh my god, this is Kaz, and all that. It was incredible. And I felt fine when I completed the series. I mean, I miss the character so much, But then Liberty could announce that he's going to write a third book. And I was like, of course I'm grateful for it, but I'm kind of worried because every time they expand series, it doesn't turn out as well as when it was a duology, and it makes us feel terrible. But I'm getting sidetracked here, but Six of Courage is again one of my favorite series. Characters I love, the story, the plot, everything, the action, the scenes, the fight scenes, the villains in the story, especially the book number one is my favorite because we have more Casamine scenes, but book number two has more action, so it depends what you want more. But it's really really good. Next we have the Saturn series by the Haramafi. This series has blown up over the past year. I see so many people discovering and finally deciding to read the series because they are, why is everyone so obsessed with Harry Warner? And I know I was the same. I picked it up I think in 2020 or 2021, and I picked it up around May and I finished it in 1 month, all the books, and it changed my life forever. Aaron Warner is just amazing. I love him to death. And Juliet and Kenji and all these characters, they're super funny and cute and fun, and they bring me so much joy to read about. I am hoping that the Haramafi will continue with the series. I am in the small portion of people that don't get enough of the series. I have no problem with her writing new books in the story, especially when there are so many new things to explore, the way she leaves her books. I mean, by the end of Imagine Me, we didn't, it ended up so abruptly. We have no wedding, we have basically no ending. We have no idea what happens next, if they are going to rebuild or anything, we have no idea. But then she releases Believe Me, which is a novella that takes place after the Benjamin event, and it was supposed to be overnight marriage, basically Juliet and Aaron's wedding finally. And I was like over the moon, but we see everyone preparing for a wedding. We see them a little bit in a sort of fight, miscommunication sort of situation. We see Juliet standing up for Warner, which I love, but we don't get to see a wedding. We literally see Warner standing at the aisle, like Juliet on the way to come, and then the book ends. But except for that fact, we also see a little glimpse of what their plans are for the new world, how they are planning to rebuild, and stuff like that. So I'm really hoping that Hamafi puts her shit together, just write a 300-page conclusion that doesn't want us to scream our heads off. So that's it. Next we have The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and this book I have negative thoughts on. This is I think the one book that I hate in this list, and I picked it up as soon as this book came out. I think 2018 it was. I read it I think about halfway through. I loved the opening scene. I was really hooked, but when the storyline started to progress, we met Cardan, we see so many new characters. I had no interest in this book, none. I'm telling you, nothing was interesting past the first scene. I wasn't interested in anything. I hated Cardan, I hated the main character, I hated everything about the story, so I ended up DNFing it and I have no regrets. The only thing that makes me wonder is book number 2, because everyone keeps saying how incredible it is, but then book 3 is again terrible, so it's not worth it for just one book for me. So I have no desire to pick it up ever again. We have Percy Jackson series by Rick Riordan. I read this series I think for the first time last year or this year, I'm not sure, but I was quite hesitant on picking it up because it is middle grade, but I always wanted to know Percy's story after the movies were so terrible, but the story was really incredible. So I picked up book number 1 and book number 2. That was a little difficult because I already knew the story, but I flew through them. They were so easy to read. Uncle Rick Riordan writes so easy stories. but when I read book number 3 and then 4, I was hooked to the characters. It felt like reading a YA book, not a middle grade one, and I love the story so much. I love Percy and Annabeth's relationship, and I love watching it progress in the books. And the books have this sort of innocence to them that the movies have none. Also, I'm really excited for the Disney Plus series, even though I'm not quite fan of the casting of Annabeth. But I did love the casting of Percy, so we'll see how it feels when I see the girl play, because she might be an amazing Annabeth. So I'm still holding out hope. But yeah, it's again one of my new favorite series. I have continued on with regards books. I'm currently on Heroes of Olympus, and again, amazing. The final series on this list is The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare, and of course I had to mention Cassandra Clare series because she's a staple in the book community and she's everywhere. Many people are quite intimidated with starting her books because there are like 7 series out there. I was the same way when I first started reading. I think it was in 2017. When I first became a reader, I started, I had watched the show and I really wanted to read the actual story because the show did a terrible conclusion. And basically I started with a prequel, The Infernal Devices, and I fell in love with Will Herondale, James Caster, Tessa Gray. Then I moved to the Mortal Instruments series. This series gave me such a nostalgic, warm, fuzzy feelings, and it felt like when you're 12 and hiding under the bed with a flashlight and reading the book, that's what it feels like. And I was so invested in the character storyline and the plot. I already knew some stuff that were going to happen in the plot, but that didn't make it any less incredible to read. I highly recommend you guys reading the series. It's totally worth a hype, and all the Cassandra Clare books deserve the hype, especially if you want characters to love as your own children. That is so worth it. I still haven't read the Last Hour series. I have no idea when I'm going to do that because they are quite big books, so we'll see when my Shadowhunter mood will return. So that's it for my video. Thank you so much for watching. I had a lot of fun talking about all these different new series and how I feel about them. Like, subscribe, stick around, check out my links below. I am super active on Instagram if you want to DM me and we can chat. Also, my blog, again, super active. I post almost every day. I post book reviews, tags, and so many different new things. And again, my new schedule is new videos every Wednesday, so I hope to see you again next week. And that's it. Bye.